Hey guys, we're here and we're here 1 minute early, I believe, with our guest. It's Sunday, by the way, and it's the 1st of February.
Yeah.
And we are here with Erin Michelle Galito. I got it, right?
Yep. You did.
Thank you. Thank you for your backstage coaching
No
to help me get through
worries.
it. Um, and we are going to talk all, all things, I apologize, um, all things Course in Miracles, all things channeling. Let me start off with the thing that I mentioned backstage that I found absolutely fascinating.
Okay.
I've talked to people who channel, the people who
Mhm.
channel Jesus, and all of them have picked up the Course in Miracles and found that they were able to begin channeling. It developed,
Mhm.
or they read a book, maybe it was Abraham Hicks or the Seth
Mhm.
material, and they found that they were able to channel. What's I find really unique about you is you started to channel
Mhm.
and you were led to the Course in Miracles.
Yep. It's funny
Um,
also, I've listened to Abraham Hicks and I read the Seth material, so that's funny.
right. It's almost required material, it
Mhm.
seems. And it seems that even before some people start channeling, um, they're intuitively, they're channeling without being able to hear or
Right.
experience the voice yet, but they're being led in that direction one step at a time.
Mhm. Yep.
Do you think that was the case with you, or have you
Um,
always been
I've always been able to, I wouldn't say that I consciously knew that I was channeling. I um But would be hearing messages from spirit since I was a child, so
um, were you always assured that it was Jesus, or
Jesus, spirit, just Holy Spirit. Um, yeah. I mean, definitely Jesus, and I always felt him near me, and I always kind of figured that was him. And then he told me to go to the bookstore and buy A Course in Miracles, and
did you um, did you question that? Had you heard of A Course in Miracles before?
um I think that I briefly heard about it, but didn't really know what it was. I know my mom studied it at the beginning of the course back in the 70s, I think. And she said that it didn't really work out so much for her because back then there wasn't the one volume. It
Right.
was all still split up into different books, and she had to keep going to the library and taking it out. And then there was somebody else who was kind of competing with her to get the book, so
We actually have our first question. They want to know how
Oh.
long have you been reading the course?
Um, I've been reading it since I think it was 2014.
Um, when Another question is it Jesus who inspires you to continue along this path?
Yes, definitely. I feel like or it's not even I feel like there's a knowing. I know that I made a decision to be a channel for him, specifically for his message. And it's been interesting because obviously, as a channel, you get interested in other things and you learn things, but it's always been redirected back to his message rather than all of these things you can do with channeling.
Right, right.
So,
You've always had, since a young kid, you've always had
mhm,
mystical leanings, right?
mhm.
So none of this came as a great surprise for you.
No, so it felt just like normal. Okay, here's the next step.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Were you surprised that it was such a direct channel to Jesus?
No, it felt like this is the right thing because at that time I was at that point, I was listening to Abraham Hicks, and actually, it's funny. Uh, Abraham, Abraham, so to speak, was talking to me and said, "You are a channel, a lot like Esther, um, and so don't be alarmed." if you start channeling. So I was I started channeling like I channel vocally. I'll say vocally um, was archangels,
Mm.
and that was a very gentle beginning of channeling like that. Before that, it was just I would receive messages I would write down, and I had like I was also an artist, so I had sketchbooks all the time with me, and I'd sit down to start drawing, and all of a sudden I'm writing down all these messages instead. So my sketchbooks are just filled with spirit messages.
Um,
So
have you ever channeled, has it ever come through artistically, like through a sketch or drawing?
yeah, it did, but it needed to be, I'll say, um, my channel had to be cleared of a lot of junk, I'll say. Just like static in the wire, so to speak. Like there are entities of like deceased loved ones. Can you give this message to these? And Jesus said, like, I could tell, I was like, no, that's not your path with this kind of channeling.
Right.
You're not here to be a messenger for deceased loved ones. So that's when he started guiding me to look at different kinds of books, which is funny. It was not the course at first. I'll tell you the first book that I really heard him really loudly was when I read the Bhagavad Gita,
Oh, wow.
and I got to a point and I started asking questions, and he started saying, "Yeah, this is pretty much it, but there are some things that I want you to understand in a different way than just this." So that was interesting too, and that's when he said, "You need to go to the store and get a Course in Miracles."
It's funny because I've been talking a bit about the Bhagavad Gita
Mm.
lately, and how Krishna lays out the four paths of yoga.
Mhm.
Um, and I actually just wrote about this on my blog.
Mm.
I always like to imagine that after the great battle and everything was returned to stillness, Krishna said, "There's one more yoga,
Mhm.
and it's the yoga of forgiveness.
Mhm.
But it's not; the world's not ready yet."
Right.
Um, and that would be A Course in Miracles.
Exactly.
Um,
Yep.
uh, was there any trepidation hearing the voice of Jesus? Did you? I
No, I
imagine.
think
Go ahead.
go ahead.
I was thinking some people might, I guess, depending on the upbringing, might not feel worthy. There might be a sense of, you know, who am I?
Mhm. Yeah. I did have a little bit of that because you know, before I did this, I did the usual kind of young person thing. So I did feel unworthy for a little while. Like, well, I was what I would consider sinful or all that. But that would be, and Jesus did say, but that's only from a religious perspective.
Right?
And it doesn't matter at all. There's, there is no sin in reality.
Did you meet any religious backlash?
Yeah, I have, and I still do. When I put my, not so much anymore, but in the beginning, when I was putting up my videos of my channeling sessions, I would get all these evangelical Christians
Mm.
coming in and just kind of almost like trolling and
And
saying, this is sinful, don't listen to this. And
I've always wondered why people would think Jesus wouldn't talk to us,
I don't, yeah, that's true. That's the unworthiness. It's the feeling that's a real belief in sin, you
right?
know,
Which
as
is,
though as though
uh,
God would put us here and say, have fun, try to figure this one out.
yeah, it's a tough one, guys, but do your best.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, of course, the um, we're always told we're never left unguided. We're
Yeah.
never left on our own. So why
Mhm.
wouldn't the entirety of A Course in Miracles is removing the blocks to
Mhm.
love's presence.
That's
So
right.
as those blocks are removed, why wouldn't we all hear in
Exactly.
whatever form we're capable of?
Exactly. And I know in the course he explains you might have experiences after reading this, so don't be surprised. I don't know how he puts it in the course. I don't remember. It's in the very beginning, about seeing. You could. He does talk about seeing the pretty much seeing auras without saying aura. He's like you'll
Right.
notice, uh, like light surrounding everything, and
Um, yeah, in lesson 28, he talks about the light shows that
yeah.
if you can, uh, as you're experiencing, as you returning to vision, you'll
Mm-hmm.
start to have these little light episodes.
Yep.
We
So
have another
why wouldn't you also hear?
exactly.
So,
And the course does talk as well about angels and when not left alone.
mhm, yep,
So, again, as those blocks are being removed, why limit the experience of God?
exactly.
Um, Someone wants to know, Aaron, you have spent so much time translating spiritual concepts for others. What is the one thing you have learned that human language can never express?
Wow.
That's
See, but that would be something I can't express.
there you go. That's true.
Yeah, it is just like, I'll just say knowing, like real knowing. I can't tell you what that's like. I have experienced it before, but it's like it doesn't always stay. It's just an experience that I've had throughout my life where it's almost like little little things saying yes, you're on the right path, and keep going, but it's only just like little, like, holy instants.
Um, we have a friend who says our guest Erin is speaking while standing. Please tell her to sit
Yes.
down and relax because we all care about her comfort here, as if she
Oh,
is one family and not a guest.
thank you. Actually, it's painful for me to sit down, so I'm always standing, so this is the most comfortable thing for me.
Um, that was very, very nice of him to say
Yeah,
that.
thank you. I appreciate that.
So, what's the experience of channeling Jesus like for you? Is it similar to Helen? Helen could walk away
Mhm.
um, and then come right back and start taking notes again. A very clear voice.
Mhm.
Is this a steady presence or does it come
It,
and go?
it's definitely a steady presence. Um I'll say it's like that. I actually think about her sometimes when I don't know how she did the amount that she did, because it's a hefty book of
It is
material.
a hefty book.
But yeah, I mean, I could have something coming through, like Jesus might be telling me information, and then something comes up, and I will have to pick it back up again. And even when I come back, I do pick it up. It just doesn't seem as strong, I'd say, as in the moment. It would come back stronger if I sat with it for longer, if you know what I
Right.
mean. So,
Um, I would imagine like anything that you have to maybe do a little work to keep the channel clear.
yes, definitely.
Do you
That's a
get?
hu
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Um, I was going to ask if you get. We'll go ahead and because this will lead us slightly in a different direction. So go ahead and
Okay.
finish what you were going to say.
Oh, I don't even remember now.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Um, do you get personal
Mhm.
guidance?
Yep, I do.
And I know you offer it to others as well.
Yeah, yep. Um, I do. It's funny, the other day, I was having an issue with something, and all of a sudden, Holy Spirit was coming through and saying, this is how you're perceiving it. This is how it actually is. So you can understand. why this person was feeling a certain way, and why it's not a good idea for you to judge. And I was like, wow, that's huge. Thank you.
It is. Um, are you ever? Do you ever feel not ready for what you're given?
No, I always feel prepared for it.
Oh,
So,
um, and someone wants to know that they're curious. Both of your thoughts on not calling on the Lord through your times of need because you didn't call on Him when you were doing good.
what was the question?
Um, curious about the thoughts on not calling on the Lord through your times of need because you didn't call on Him when you were doing good. So, is that clear?
I don't think
Uh,
I understand.
could you offer a little more insight on that, Anthony? But where I think he's going is that if we are not uh, communicating
Mhm.
in times when everything is good, how do we feel, turning to God when times are bad? Sorry, God, I've ignored you. Everything was going good. I didn't need your guidance, but now things are really bad.
Well, I know that God doesn't judge. And so no matter when you open yourself to hearing from God, there God is. So God doesn't think, well, geez, you hung up the phone on me. So I'm not going to talk to you.
You had your chance.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful answer.
Thank you.
And I imagine that, for me as a course student,
Hmm.
that I am always, almost always, communicating and turning guidance. Good
Hmm.
times, bad times. I am always open to receiving, and it's a practice
Yep,
to
exactly.
make those decisions of turning things over to the Holy Spirit. Um,
Exactly.
I wouldn't say that I'm 100% good at it or great at it, but I do it on a regular basis through the day for good or for bad, and I
Mm-hmm.
would imagine that's your case as well.
Yep. Yep. It is definitely discipline to practice your that way of being, and then it's suddenly just normal, so you don't even think about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But in the beginning, it does take practice and awareness. Say like, okay, today I'm going to first talk to the Holy Spirit before I do anything. And you practice that for a while, and then eventually it just becomes second nature. And so you don't have to be like, you don't have to say in your mind, I am now going to talk to the Holy Spirit. It's
Right.
just an open channel, an open communication.
And I can't imagine having an open channel with Jesus, with the Holy Spirit, and not using it on a regular basis. Saying things are going good now. I'll talk to you when things get bad. Um,
Right.
when you can get that guidance 24/7, and is it that way for you?
It
Can you
is.
can you can turn whenever you need it, whenever you want?
Mm-hmm. I talk to him like he's like I'm talking to you right now. Just like he's right there, just talking to him instead of just being like I'm doing something else. I'll even invite him into like we'll say my exercising, anything that I'm doing like that, my work, all of it.
Um, when were you guided to begin to offer this to others?
This just came as like part of who I am. I'll say that. So it wasn't even like I'm going to offer it. It's who I am and it's what I'm here to do. So it
Um,
just kind of evolved that way and then became more of a commitment. I'd say that like a public commitment too. So like not just my private life, but something I'm able to share. So
by the way, our friend said, "Thank you. That was a great answer, Aaron."
well,
And
thank
Yogi, that
you.
was exactly what I was trying to say.
Thank you.
Good. I'm glad. Guys, Erin said that she would be happy to answer questions throughout. So if you have questions, I will be scanning and looking for them. By the way, you have a beautiful website
Thank you.
and you also have a great YouTube channel. If
Thank
guys
you.
want to actually go over and listen to the guidance of Jesus, as well as you work with you'll work with people individually, right, in sessions.
Not anymore. I do groups. So I do a once monthly group where there's a general Q&A kind of thing, and Jesus gives talks to us about, things he wants us to be aware of in our awakening. And then people have submitted questions, or they'll ask questions like you guys are doing right now, and we go through like that. And then also, so that's the first Saturday of every month. And then after that, I have 2 Saturdays of the month. I do A Course in Miracles, just study group, but Jesus is there to guide in any way that people have questions. So
Um, did you have did you have any doubts that this was Jesus from the Course?
no, I didn't. It's that's another thing that you can't even explain with words. It's just this like know this. You know what I mean? Like I always let me think of a way to put that. It's like you know that you are whoever you are, and you don't doubt that. Meaning like you know that you're Eric, and you're Eric, even though you know that's just a role you're playing right now, but that's Eric. It's
Right,
that way, you don't question like,
mhm,
"Oh, geez, who am I? What is this?"
right.
So,
Um, we have another question. Are the messages of light we receive truly external guidance, or are they merely echoes of our own true voice, and were suppressed for millennia? And if God is omnipresent, where does evil go when we awaken?
well, the first part of the question was sorry, I always have
It's okay. Um, uh, are the messages of light that we receive truly external guidance, or are
no,
they
it's
merely
definitely
echoes?
it's echoes, like, it's an internal thing, it's like you already know, and you just have a remembrance, and it appears to be external because you forgot.
Right. Um, with things like that, there really is no external, is there?
No, there's no external at all.
And the second part, um, and if God is omnipresent, um, where does evil go when we awaken?
There is it's not there at all. So when we awaken completely, we don't even see it anymore. We don't experience it anymore. It would never was.
Right.
That's just the illusion.
Sort of like saying, where does dark go when we turn on the light?
Exactly.
It's not like dark is an actual thing that flees the light. It's
Right.
just gone.
Exactly. That's the perfect way to put it.
Um, Another question is uh, within the context of the course teaches atonement as a correction. My question is, are we victims of the world we see?
No, we are not victims of the world we see. We are in quote, I'm saying in quotes victims because we're not victims of our own decisions that we've made. And by that, Jesus explains it better than what I just said, which is that we experience ourselves as victims of the thought system that we chose. So, like, we have two parts to our mind. There's the part of our mind that where the Holy Spirit is, which is our right mind, and then there's the wrong part of the wrong mind, which is the ego. So we're either listening to one or the other. And if you feel like victims of something, then you're listening to your ego. So, but you can change that within like a second. You can say, oh, whoops, I'm listening to my ego.
Right. Um, that was always the most wonderful part of the course for me.
Hmm.
Uh, the continuous practice, and you can't do it wrong
Exactly.
because if you know that you're choosing wrong,
Hmm.
you simply get to choose again in that very moment.
Yep.
Um, Want to get back to your website um, a little bit, and then I was seeing the sessions. I So next week will be your the first Saturday of the month, right?
Hmm.
So you'll have your group,
Hmm.
and I loved reading your. I don't know if everyone was here because I started this question very early in our conversation, right off the bat, I think, and there was only one or two people in that. I just found it fascinating that you were led to the course um, uh, after you were already channeling, and it was
Hmm.
Jesus that you were channeling, right?
Hmm.
Um, Now, when you were channeling the angels,
Hmm.
was it um, was there a parting place where the angels were like, were making way,
Yes.
or there was?
Hmm. They actually said that pretty
Wow,
much. They said, we're basically making way for another to come forward that you'll be channeling. And if, for a little bit, I was like, wow, I don't even know what that is. And I was a little nervous at first, but then when I realized it was Jesus, I'm like, oh, that's wonderful. Like, thank God.
right. Um, and we're going to go to some questions again. If the mind is the sole creator of this world, who is observing the mind? Are we the consciousness that expands? Are we the black hole that absorbs all illusions to return to the sacred nothingness?
It's that's another hard one to describe. It's pretty much all that you just said. It's just it just is.
I can understand that.
So, yeah, it's like we are all of that. And when we transition from this, it's just like we know all, and so that question goes away and it just is. And that's the only way that I can explain that.
Right. Um, so our ego is spirit, correct? Do you
No.
also believe in the Holy Spirit and A Course in Miracles? I have just started reading A Course in Miracles, and this is confusing me. I am seeking clarification. Much appreciated.
Okay, the ego is not spirit at all. So like I said a few moments ago, we're basically we have a mind. And that mind has two parts. It has right mind and wrong mind. The right mind is where the Holy Spirit is, the wrong mind is where the ego is. And in the end, there is no mind at all. Like that's just the illusion, but we have to see it that way because we have to be aware of our choices and our ability to choose rather than feeling like we're mindless, helpless victims. So we do have power to make decisions. And Jesus wants us to know that we don't have to listen to the ego and that we would do much better if we listened to the Holy Spirit. Life would go a lot easier for us, so to speak, or at least we would have greater understanding.
Right. So, rightly speaking, we could say that the ego just said that it even truly exists, does it?
Exactly. Yep.
Um, so, and they're continuing on saying, so the ego, so ego is our consciousness, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yes. Because actually, consciousness is the plane of the ego. So, who we really are, we don't even need consciousness. We just are this. I'll say beingness, which just is. And then when we seem to be here, we think you have this thought that you feel that you need this consciousness to be able to make quote unquote conscious decisions and conscious creations and all of that stuff, which we make up.
Right. I think in uh, yogic terms, in terms of like from the Bhagavad Gita,
Hmm.
they might say that you have Brahma, as
Hmm.
you said, pure beingness,
Yep.
the godness,
That's, yep.
and then emerging from Brahma is the I am,
Hmm. Hmm.
and ego is the identity within
Yep.
the
And
I
that's
am.
it, the identity. Because in that beingness, we don't have individualized identity. We're part of one, and we don't have separation there. And we don't actually have separation in truth. What we think in this dream, we are separate, but that's part of our illusion. It's part of the dream. And we wouldn't be able to grow without that awareness, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So in the
Um,
end, there is none of that. But
you're going down a non-dual description with
yep.
that, right? And I
Hmm.
know that non-duality is one of the things that you speak of quite a bit.
Hmm.
That's another often point of contention in some uh, course um, discussions, course
Hmm.
groups. Some say, Course Miracles is ultimately a non-dual path, and others believe that it isn't. So it always seemed like semantics,
It is. That is so true. That is so true. And that's part of the ego's game, semantics.
right?
So if we could just go along with it and just go with the flow, it would not be this semantics talking and talking and talking.
Um, Another question is many spend their lives seeking the light. Could spiritual seeking itself be the greatest obstacle to enlightenment? Because seeking implies we aren't already there. How do we stop seeking in order to arrive?
That is exactly right. How do you stop seeking? Well, you've got to acknowledge that you are there. And that's the part that most find very difficult because your illusion in the dream, it really doesn't feel like we are there.
Right.
So we have these little quote unquote journeys we go in order to realize that we didn't go anywhere and we're still in this one mind.
Um, so ultimately, and from a non-dual perspective, uh, what is the end result when we've removed those blocks of love, when we've uh, have forgiven our every grievance and resentment, and we're completely free?
Freedom, like total freedom. Or you could say release, like totally released. So that is freedom.
Right. Would this be what we would call the happy dream?
Yeah,
Um,
it would.
and
But then actually, after then there is beyond the happy dream, which is
right.
completely free of even being in a dream.
Um, and that's where we surrender our individuality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we are simply merged back with Brahma, with God.
Yep. Yep.
I've always wondered those the bodhisattvas, those who um, are able to choose to come back to aid. Um, like with Jesus, who
Hmm.
obviously merged um, fully, but um, able to at the same time um, appear within this world as well.
Hmm.
Is there what what is it that is able to make that transition from you know from God to Jesus, from Brahma to Krishna?
I feel like it's just spirit, like our soul. That's a good way to put our soul.
So you had read Abraham Hicks
Hmm.
and Seth. Um,
Hmm.
and that was your introduction to channeling.
Um, Not quite because was interested in stuff. Those were the strongest ones that I came across for a little while when I was younger. I saw the things like paranormal stuff. And that's when I
Right.
was like, that's not it. The paranormal is not that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for ghosts or just strange things like that. I was looking for the truth. And so I started being drawn to these teachings and or it was being I was drawn to it, and then it showed up in my experience because like my aunt was the one who brought Abraham Hicks to me and said, have you heard of this? And we talked about it and got into it for a while. I even went to a couple of their seminars.
Um, were there any books or teachers that course related that really you found helpful or that drew you in even deeper?
Yeah, I'd say Ken Wapnick, which is funny because that was another one that I was pretty much just guided to right off the bat. He was still in form at the time. He was still putting up YouTube videos, and I said, "Wow, look at this, like this makes so much sense." And then so that was like my first real introduction besides just looking at the book was Ken Wapnick and his teachings, the way he explains it is so clear. It's
Agree.
so clear to me. Mhm.
Um, I've been having because I was so immersed in Ken Wapnick, his teachings.
Mhm.
Um, I fairly often have imaginary conversations with Kenneth Wapnick,
And it's not
where
imaginary.
that's what I'm told. Um,
Mhm.
and whenever ever anything that is an issue or troublesome, uh, he will pop in my mind and remind me. If I ever ask why is this happening,
Mhm.
and it's always the same. You are dealing with effects and effects and effects, and you're expecting things to be different, but all
Mhm.
you're going to get is effects
Yep.
until you um, go to the source, until you go
Mhm.
to the actual cause. And he's very gentle, but very insistent and a little sarcastic. Um,
Yep.
I don't mind telling you this over and over again, but I
Mhm.
did tell you this uh, before. Um, and my partner's in the chat, and she has insisted that I'm channeling Kenneth Wapnick. But um, if I was, I could not ask for a better guide for the course.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel that too. I talk to him sometimes. I'll be told, well, listen to this workshop or that workshop. It's in there. Which is the same thing all the time. Oh yeah, that's right.
Right, right. Um, that's what I think was so clear about his teachings. He never wavered.
Yes, I love that about him. Yep.
And it really is the the basics. You don't really get lost
Mhm.
in metaphysics too much. Um,
Exactly.
you're always returning to forgiveness, to kindness, and
Mhm.
um, uh, almost relentless about it.
Mhm. Definitely. And
Uh,
that's what I like about it.
Me too.
So,
Have you was Gary Renard helpful?
no, not really.
No.
No, I mean, he was a little bit, I'll say it was interesting. I thought that was a unique way of the way that he received things, but I also felt like his personality was really in it with some of his things that he channeled, and that was very clear to me. And so I think the only things that I really felt that were interesting or that I liked about it was that his way of receiving it was very interesting and
Right.
kind of cool. I mean, his this story about being taken into the cosmos pretty much by like Arton or something like that. Um, so, but I felt like that was a little bit distracting, which is why I always come back to Ken Wapnick because he doesn't have different entities who are talking to him.
Right. And I can see that. I can see how some people might see um, you get a great teaching from Gary Renard, but you can get lost
Hmm.
in the story.
Hmm.
And
Exactly.
Kenneth Wapnick doesn't have a story.
That's right. Yep.
Um, speaking of my partner, she has a question. Does Jesus have an overall message he would like for us to know today, especially if one is not a Course in Miracles student? She says she's
Hmm.
not asking for performative uh, things. I was looking for the truth.
Well, one message, of course, is always forgiveness and always don't judge and don't let your that's funny. He's don't let your opinions stand in the way of truth.
Um, I like that add-on.
Hmm.
uh, al- almost like Jesus says, make sure you throw this one in. Um,
Hmm.
I, so you mentioned forgiveness, and Kat
Hmm.
had said for a message from Jesus for non-course students, which there are a few in here. I would say most of them here are not course students. Many
Okay.
are course curious.
Hmm.
Um, so when we talk about forgiveness, what is Jesus's message for forgiveness for people who aren't might not be familiar with the course?
Okay, so forgiveness, for those who aren't familiar with the course, is not like people forgiving each other for things. Like if somebody punched me in the face, you're not going to say, I forgive you for punching me in the face. It's forgiveness is like acceptance of what is and letting go of your judgments. So like your opinions, like he was saying.
Um, I loved how I love the punch in the face analogy
Hmm.
uh, because we've all metaphorically or otherwise have been punched in the face by someone. Someone has done something, and we would
Hmm.
say, "I can't forgive it."
Hmm.
Um, but Jesus isn't asking us to forgive um, the action,
Right.
but to see. I loved Mother Teresa's analogy when she was asked, "How do you show up to the hospital and take care of, tend to the sickest of the sick children?"
Hmm.
And she said, "I simply see the face of Jesus in all of his distressing disguises." Um, and that's what we're asked to do with forgiveness, right? We're
That's
just
right.
asked to see the face of Christ
Exactly. We're not asked to look at personalities and say, I can't stand that personality, but I'm going to forgive them. You were supposed to go beyond the personality and see, like Mother Teresa said, the Christ within.
Mm,
So the face of Christ.
right. We have a question, Aaron. Can intuition be used as a phrsonics tool to bridge childhood observations with current spiritual messages?
Intuition, yeah, because intuition, how I understand intuition, that's coming from spirit altogether. Like that's this knowingness, like I was talking about earlier, that knowingness within you. And so that intuition is a really powerful tool to use for guidance.
Um, we have a friend who says, I myself am already struggling and less than a week in the study of A Course in Miracles, but I'm open to continuing and may find clarifications. Any um, insights or encouragement that you could offer someone who might be struggling in that first week?
Okay, so be careful of getting caught up in the language. Like one thing that a lot of course students have fallen to prey to is the needing to have it perfectly said. Like you start reading parts of the course and you're like, that really resonates with me, and I'm going to use that for everything. And then you go and you start thinking, and then you forget how to say it exactly, and then you feel, then you're like, well, I can't remember it anyway. So you want to just lighten up about it, the course. Like, don't, it's very, very serious sounding. Like the course is, I mean, look at all the pages.
Right, right,
It's a huge book, and the tone is very, or it feels serious. I will say, once you let go of that, okay, well, lighten up about it, you won't really see it with that seriousness. But that's something to watch out for with it, which is why I like Ken Wapnick, because he's like, he'll cut right through that.
right. Um, it was that seriousness that got us into this mess to begin with.
Exactly. And then we all
Um,
forget about that throughout the course.
right. It's true, true.
Right.
And that goes back to what you and I were saying about arguing over semantics. Um,
Exactly.
you know, it really is, all of this is to be taken lightly in the
Mhm.
literal sense of seeing the light within everything, and the metaphorical sense of um, let's just, let's laugh and be joyful about this experience that we're having.
Mhm. And I love one thing that Ken Wapnick said. He said, "How do you find joy in a joyless world? You realize that it doesn't actually exist at all." Pretty much that's my way of putting it.
Right. I love that.
Yeah. So you aren't going to find joy in a joyless world. This world is not filled with joy. So the joy comes from this is an illusion, and realizing, wow, well, you'll wake up.
Right. Um, that's one of those. It's one of those statements that always sort of cause a pause,
Mhm.
um, and where you consider the weight of what that actually means. That
Mhm.
none of this really exists.
Exactly. Yep.
Um, you know, it brings a slow smile because you start thinking about it, and you almost uh, we had a guest uh, yesterday actually, who called it being hit by the cosmic two by four. Um, and a statement like that, when you say the world doesn't exist, you're almost struck by that cosmic two by four,
Mhm.
and then you start to smile at the realization that it's actually a good thing. All the pain, all the suffering, all the loss. Ultimately,
Yep.
it doesn't even exist, does it?
Yeah, there's none of it. Yep.
Um, but there is something, right?
Mhm.
And what is that something?
What is that something where there's nothing? Well, it's just what you really are is spirit. And so once you really embrace that, it's like, wow, I really don't have to take this world seriously at all, even if there are things in my life that logically I have to take seriously, you know,
Right.
like we have a cat, I have to feed the cat. I'm not going to not feed the cat because the world isn't real. Our cat
Fortunately for your
sure
cat.
thinks it's real.
Yes. Yes. I've seen your cat on Facebook, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, so you alluded to this before, level confusion.
Mhm.
Uh, we take the world seriously because the world appears to be serious,
Mhm.
but ultimately we hold the world lightly and joyfully because we know it doesn't really exist.
Exactly.
Speaking of cats, I don't know if you can hear my cat demanding attention uh,
Oh.
right now. Um, thank you, Lucy. Hi.
Oh.
Um, we have another question. Can the search for enlightenment become a new prison? How do we
Yes.
how do we truly escape the ego and not just giving it a spiritual makeover?
That's perfect. Yeah, we can definitely get caught in that very easily because that's, again, it's the same thing as taking it seriously. It's just like, all right, now spirituality is serious. Now having enlightenment is the most serious thing in the world. And if I don't get that, then I'll never wake up. Well, that's just your thought. And you can
Uh,
just let that go. If you have those thoughts, it's like, well, that's just silly. It's a dream.
right. Um, from what you've mentioned so far, and I could be off on this, um, you you don't seem like you were ever really a seeker. You were someone that had these because when you mentioned the paranormal, you were
Hmm.
ready. You were able to put that aside and say that's not what I want.
Hmm.
So you didn't chase it down that path only to realize that, um, and you were led to the course um, fairly early on, right?
Hmm. Yeah, it's like I would say that I was a seeker because I was looking for truth. And so that's why I was led to things like the Bhagavad Gita and Seth material and even like Abraham Hicks and all of that stuff. It's just part of the path. Just then realizing what the real truth is, just everything else just faded away, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So my interest in it was like, oh, I don't need that.
Right.
Once I came to the course, it was like, well, that's it. Here's the answer.
Um, this is a question that goes back to what we were talking about with the level confusion.
Hmm.
Respectfully, if none of this is real, then why would anyone take accountability for our actions? That would be anarchy, and man held to our own devices would be a nihilist mindset. Would you not agree?
Not necessarily because we made a choice to come here and we forgot that we did. If we didn't come back to that realization, then I would consider that anarchy. Because that's just us like pushing away our true knowledge and saying no. It's funny, that would be Yeah.
Um, yeah, I agree with that. And as we were talking about before, the that level confusion, that
Mhm.
knowing that none of this is real doesn't mean that you don't feed your cat.
Exactly. I mean, we I'll say we grow. We grow by our experiences here. And that's something that we won't experience until we transition. I know that Jesus talks about our creations, and that's one of those things that's difficult to figure out what the heck our creations are. I think that's part of it, is that experience of all the fullness of our growth. And that's why we go through these things so we can expand and grow. I know
Which
that I've read near-death experiences where they have explained that as stuff that they experienced was like, wow, I had this. I saw there's one, I don't remember who it was, but he saw the fullness of himself, and he said it was like this shiningness that he wanted to have that shining and that shiningness, and the way to do that was to have this experience where we grow and have these contrasting experiences.
um, do you ever read? I think um, Betty 80. She wrote
Oh,
"Embrace
yeah, yeah,
Embraced by the Light."
mhm. That was,
Um,
like, early on in my that's right, I went before I came to the course, I was part of a metaphysical group where we did talk about that very briefly.
she told a wonderful story, and it doesn't really matter if we believe it's true or not.
Mhm,
Um, how when she had her, I don't even think she called it a near-death experience. I think she actually called it a death experience. Um, that she encountered someone who told her that he had um, incarnated as a homeless person
mhm,
for the sole purpose of allowing her to perform an act of kindness and help him out. Um, and the reason I love that story, whether we believe it or not, is it shows that the opposite of nihilism, that as we experience the transitory nature of this life itself, instead of um, instead of becoming nihilistic, we actually become so much more tender and kind,
mhm.
open-hearted, and giving.
That's true.
Um, I always use the example of course students, such as yourself, when I asked if they would like to come on and have a chat. I get this overwhelming yes, I would love
Mhm,
to share what we share. And you were, and again, a perfect example of that. You were just so right off the bat, yes, I would love to come up and talk.
mhm.
Um, so M3, I hope that answers your questions, your question. Someone else wants to know why searching for light only when we are struggling.
I think that we just have this it's in us, like, it's innately within our beingness that we would feel we wanna go towards the light. We want to move back to the light rather than further away. And so it's just kind of like an intuitive, quote unquote, movement toward.
Um, Coming back to uh, course in guiding new people,
Hmm.
what's your initial approach in helping people from that very beginning?
Um, just open. Be open to it and just see where it takes you. And you can I know that it's laid out with the text and then the workbook and then the different supplements that it has. But you can leaf through all of it if you want to. I would say to start with the text because there's so much in there that explains certain things that come up in the workbook. So you can have that awareness when you do pick up the workbook.
right?
I also would say that you want to go deeper with the workbook and really allow the real message of each lesson to come to you. And that does take time to tune into it, the message, instead of just reading it. So,
Um, I was just telling someone yesterday, don't worry about getting it. The
mhm,
ego's never going to get it. The ego's never going to
exactly.
be enlightened.
Exactly.
Um, we certainly do want an enlightened ego, though, don't we?
What's that?
We
Oh,
certainly
yes,
did.
yes. And then we also don't realize that that's the ego.
Right, right. Um, that can be quite a struggle for some
Mhm.
for a very very long time. Uh,
Yeah.
I find that in the yoga community quite a bit.
Mhm.
The my yoga is more powerful than your yoga. Um,
Exactly.
and I'm more awakened than you're awakened. And
Mhm.
the funny thing with that is, awakened is awakened. No one
Mhm.
can ever be more,
Exactly. You just are.
right?
And then when
Um,
you are, you don't share it like that.
right. Um, it really is like turning on a light, and
Mhm.
you know, you, there's no one light bulb never challenges another light bulb.
Exactly.
I can chase away more darkness than you can. Um, let's see. I'm scanning for some more questions. I'm really interested in your study of the Bhagavad Gita. Do you ever go back to it?
Not really. Not really. I tend to always go to the course and like the Bhagavad Gita is extremely beautiful and it's really I feel like an important thing to read because I feel like that's another one that really opens your mind.
Mhm.
But I really feel like the real um, anchor is in the course.
Um, I can definitely say uh, I do go back to the Bhagavad Gita, but um, I love the beauty, like you said, the beauty of its language
Mm-hmm.
and what it offers. But it's hard for me to say that there was any measurable difference in my life from uh, for me personally. I know, like
Mm-hmm.
for Gandhi, it was a catalyst of changing his life, his study of the Bhagavad
Right.
Gita. Um, but that um, it was a course that changed everything for me
Yeah. Same
because
here.
now I had a meaningful practice that I could
Mm-hmm.
put into place every moment. If I
Yep.
was responding, if I was responding in a way that did not bring me peace, I was able to change instantly and choose a way
Exactly.
that did bring me peace.
Yep.
Um, so, with Jesus in your everyday life, I think I asked you this before, but maybe a little
Mm-hmm.
more insight. Are you given that guidance through the little things and the big things?
Yeah. Um, although it always is given to me in ways that I can understand like why something is happening or why I'm thinking something, I'll say,
Right.
or why I had a reaction to something and where that's coming from. Obviously, he'll point that out, and it's like you can always choose again instead of continuing down like this.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff he'll say.
Um, are you ever given any big ticket items, any political, any uh, prophetic, that um, global shift or political shift or um, anything along those lines?
Um, he doesn't really, well, we will talk about those things a little bit, but he said, I won't really give you any information that you can just put up and give to people about any of this because if I did that, that would say the world is real.
Uh,
And so he will say, like, he will talk about some politics with me and where that's coming from and what, how we can do better, like how we can move forward from that rather than staying in certain mindsets. It's basically, he uses it to reinforce teachings of the course.
um, I love that answer of it would make everything real.
Mhm.
Um, I can imagine, no matter what side of the political aisle someone might be on,
Exactly.
no matter what belief system, um,
Mhm.
it would cause fear in the other.
Yeah.
If someone said this is going to be the next president, and this is someone that no one wants to be president, um,
Mhm.
it's going to cause a great amount of fear, with meaning that we've invested
Exactly.
in this world.
Yep.
Hmm. Um, yeah, that was almost as if Kenneth Wapnick was talking to
Mhm.
me
Yeah.
again, again, right there. I very much appreciate that
Yes.
answer. I'm looking for some more questions. So I don't remember. Do you have a book?
Yeah, it's called Essays of the Light, Channeled Guidance for Your Ascension, and that was the archangels.
Right. Oh, and am I mistaken? You had your own healing.
Um, how do you mean?
Uh, you had a physical healing in your life?
Um, I've had a lot of physical healings in my life, actually. I wouldn't say that any of it would be something that I would rate as a testimonial to anything.
Oh, okay.
But it's like I have internal healings. So, and I will say I've had physical healings after some guidance on things to change in my physical life. But again, that kind of stuff is not something that I would tell people about, so to speak, because it's not necessarily going to help everyone.
Sure, sure.
So,
Um, much like Um, much like Kenneth Wapnick, again, I like the fact that you return to continuously what's going to be most helpful
mhm,
for everyone concerned. It reminds me of, you know, my favorite prayer, everyone's favorite prayer, I think, in the course, I am here only to be truly helpful.
mhm. Yep, yep,
Um, so I imagine the more that you can sort of get out of your own way.
exactly, exactly. Yep.
Um, we have a question. How do you verify your intuitive messages are a first to record truth and not just a temporary mental shift.
There's this inner knowing, just this that wordless inner knowing that you can feel.
And he wanted to clarify that first to record, as in the initial insight. That so if I were to rephrase that, um, how do you verify your intuitive message as a initial insight and not just a temporary mental shift? I don't know if that changes the answer any.
I don't think it changes the answer. It's just it's very personal feeling that you'll get within yourself.
Right. Um, and I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with a temporary mental shift either.
No, not at all. Can be very, very helpful
Right.
because it can
It
help
sort
you to move forward.
right sort of lets you know that you're on that right path.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, I think in Zen they call it a satori,
Mm-hmm.
that little instant awakening, and it might not last, but it wasn't designed to last.
Exactly. Yep.
And he's saying yes, it's a vibration of truth. Yeah,
Yep.
probably that vibration might be one of the best ways of uh, describing it, because
Yeah, I like that.
even when we say like an inner knowing, it almost sounds like we're um, making it something, but it
Right.
really, yeah, it really is. I love the expression ineffable, that
Mm-hmm.
it
Yep.
can't be put in words.
That's right.
Um, but it is very, very much uh, an experience.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
Um, are you ever completely flabbergasted by something that Jesus says to you?
No. No.
Um, and sorry for that old fashioned word, by the way.
No, it's okay.
It's not often I get to use the word flabbergasted in a sentence. Um, so you think at this point that you're just uh, you've made yourself such a vessel that you're prepared
Mm-hmm.
for everything that comes your way.
Mm-hmm.
When you used to do personal handling, uh, was it ever difficult to um, give someone information and see how they might take it?
I think there was a period that was sort of just for a moment, and then it was like, wait a second, it has nothing to do with me. So whatever is coming through and obviously I knew that it was coming from at that point, archangels, it's gonna be helpful. So
Aaron, do you still ever hear from the archangel
I
angels?
do, I do, but mostly it's Jesus. It's like the archangels and angels are always there, but they're just not as front and center.
Right. And the guidance is always in coordination with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I would imagine any contradiction would be where your own ego might come into play,
Mm-hmm.
um, and sort of cause that little bit of doubt or friction.
Yeah, definitely. And I can tell with that, it's like obviously my ego got involved.
Right.
If I have something like that, I don't keep those messages. So
Understandable. I would imagine that in some cases, for some channelers, it it might leak in. It might leak in
Oh yeah.
the transcript, and that I think most people agree. Like Helen was such a pure channel.
Yeah, she was. She
Um,
really did an amazing job getting out of the way.
and she was also very aware of her own ego,
Mhm.
which
Yep.
I think is important.
Definitely.
Um, because if you start to confuse the two, if you start thinking, I'm the channeler, this is
Exactly.
my wisdom, my thoughts.
Mhm.
Jesus talks just to me.
Mhm.
Then I think you can almost sort of pick it up when you're reading a material like that.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Um, it's funny that if you remember, Helen would argue with Jesus.
Yeah, I thought that was very funny.
Um, any any back and forth between you and Jesus? Any arguments? Any guidance where you said no?
Um, no, not really. I will say that I have had times when I will voice what I think about something, and I'm like, and I know that you see it totally different than I'm saying it right now, so I'm just saying this. And then he'll say, "That's right." That's it. That's right. You have to, let that go in order to really hear. So,
Um, so you had written from the perspective of your channeling with the archangels.
mhm.
Um, do you have any thoughts on uh, upcoming writing through the channeling of Jesus?
Um, I have so much material, and I've thought about doing that and putting out a book. It's just it's so, I'll just say I'm being very limited about it. Um, it's so, I'll say, expensive. It's so pricey
Right.
to publish a book. So it's just, I have it set aside so that if I'm ever in that position to publish, I will definitely publish material. So,
Good. And in the meantime, we do have great resources from you. Uh,
oh, okay.
your YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's right.
Uh, and how often do you post on YouTube? Do you have a
Right.
set schedule?
Right now it's just once monthly for that's okay. So we do the once monthly general Q&A kind of thing and Jesus giving a message. And then the two Saturdays where he comes in to our Course in Miracles group and gives insight, and those videos are private, so
Right. Do you ever do an open channeling session for like the public, like a YouTube live stream or
I want to do that. I've been thinking about doing that. I'm just trying to figure out how and when. We're in such an interesting situation, so I'm always not quite certain when other people or situations might come in, so I don't want to cause any problems
sure.
by having that.
Um,
But yeah, I'd love to do that.
I would I would suggest having a really good moderator that you can
Hmm.
trust because as you said, you've had uh, people with very strong different beliefs and opinions
Hmm.
who want to come in and insist
Right,
that their opinion is the way things are,
right.
um, or that it's not even an opinion.
Hmm.
Um, so this is where a moderator or two would really come in handy to
Hmm.
keep those questions where you could provide the most meaningful answers to those in need
Hmm.
uh, versus people just wanting to, uh, express their thoughts and opinions in a very forceful way.
That's true. Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Um, sometimes I think the internet is the perfect example of the split mind that you were talking
Mhm.
about.
Yep.
Uh, it can be very, very um, egocentric. It can
Mhm.
be, you know, uh, shouting back and forth, an echo chamber.
Yeah,
Um, but also can be a very beautiful opportunity
that's so
to
true.
open to Jesus, to open to the Holy Spirit.
Mhm. Yep.
Um, so I want to say, I'm gonna wrap things up.
Okay.
That thank you for coming here and opening the Holy Spirit with all of us. I very much appreciate your time, the beautiful insights that you've offered.
Thank you.
Um, and do you think that maybe we can have you back sometime?
Yeah, I'd love to. That would be great.
Um, I'm scanning for any last minute questions, and um, I think that people are saying they agree the internet is only a reflection of the world and
Yep.
people around us. Very diverse views. Uh,
Mhm.
a friend says, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Um, so we'll wrap things up.
All right.
Aaron, again, thank you. Guys,
Thank
please
you.
visit the
Uh-oh, it froze.
just, that's okay. Um, I apologize. I
That's okay.
for my really long goodbyes. Um,
Oh.
I need to get better at that. Um, I was just telling people how to get in contact with you. The information is in my description, but uh, they can go to your website.
Mhm.
And are your sessions, your group sessions, uh, how to join? All the information is on your webpage.
Sort of. I would say to get send me an email, and that email address is yemgministries@gmail.com. Maybe we can put that in the description if you don't
Yes.
have it. And then we'll get you the information on how to join from there.
Okay. And guys, I hope you take advantage of this opportunity. Uh, it's pretty amazing to be able to get Course in Miracles insight, one, from a great, great teacher, such as yourself, Aaron,
Thank
and
you.
two, from the great teacher, Jesus,
Exactly.
in one setting. So thank you, Aaron,
Thank you.
and
Thank
we
you
will see
so
you
much.
soon. I
Yeah.
will send you the link to this if you want to share it
Yeah, thank you.
or just watch it. All right,
Awesome.
take care.
Thank you. Bye.